Good afternoon, my dear colleagues in the fraternity of rehabilitation. So, we are on to our 10th topic in a webinar or the last session in a webinar series. And topic for today's discussion is disability research and COVID-19 pandemic. So, the term research usually people may link it with a doctoral level work or a master level study like that. But the research here in the context of COVID pandemic has a wider implication because any small study, any small documentation, a small observation to a multi-centric longitudinal study is relevant in this regard because each has got its own relevance and significance. So I would again start with the noted quote of Amartya Sen saying that disabled people are not only the most deprived human beings in the developing world, they also are the most neglected. So this should be the undercurrent of all our discussions because we are working or we are advocates for this marginalized group of people. So a pandemic event like this corona pandemic adds on to our responsibility to this marginalized sector. Coming to the disability research and COVID-19 pandemic, a few initial thoughts is how prepared are the healthcare providers in terms of their attitude, abilities, empathy, resources, and community linkages and network that are critical in the case of persons with disabilities. Evidence on the new situation of vulnerabilities and risk to persons with disabilities due to COVID 19 is scarce. By documented and anecdotal accounts, PWDs have inadvertently become the most vulnerable and left alone people fending for themselves during this COVID 19. So, this is the picture. We are all in a fray. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We are all disturbed. We are all anxious. We are all depressed, even to an extent. An uncertainty is looming around us. So, even the so called normal majority is having an uncertainty in front of them, and the healthcare workers and the first line warriors of COVID, like even the police force and the related professionals, we don't know how prepared the entire system is in terms of their attitude, abilities, and empathy, and even resources and linkages for the critical for the care of persons with disabilities. So the research or studies in this domain becomes so very important, and in fact this thought should arise from people like us in the field of rehabilitation who are working exclusively for the persons with disabilities, because unless and until we come up with this sort of thoughts, we come up with such observations, and we enlighten the policy makers or the decision makers or the bureaucrats or the administrative bodies regarding this, nothing is going to happen because they are not much aware of the specific requirements of persons with disabilities. It is the responsibility of we people to carry it forward. For example, social distancing is an anomaly for the PWDs who relied primarily on social proximity and support for their self enhancement so as to attain dignified and better quality of life. So we can just imagine the scenario. We are just saying social distancing is the new normal. But for a person with disability, social interaction was in itself his way of living. So this sort of an isolation or distancing, to what extent it has hampered a person with disability in his daily routine, is something which we can't even envisage of. Closely intertwined are the issues of health system preparedness to respond to some of the critical health and social needs of the persons with disabilities. As I said, for even for the healthcare workers, they are under stress, their workload is so high, they have their own priorities, their workload is high, and priority is different. So, naturally, the persons with disabilities again are pushed to the margins of all priority lists. Hence, some priority of the research areas for the persons with disabilities and healthcare workers to help inform effective programming and mitigate the adverse impact on them both during lockdown period and post-COVID situation is being discussed here in the guidance document put forth by the ICMR. So the priority research areas pertaining to these four domains. So these are the four major priority research areas put forth by ICMR. One is to enhance persons with disabilities access to information and services. Second domain pertains to Prepare effective health system response to address the needs of persons with disabilities. Third is build empathy for the persons with disabilities. And fourth is regarding enhancement of the learning and skill enhancement needs of persons with disabilities during post lockdown and longer time frame. So coming to the priority research areas to enhance persons with disabilities access to information and services. One of the priority areas in the immediate short term is to map out what social distancing means for people with disability. Is social distancing equivalent to isolation for them? This is a core question which need to be addressed, because we know for persons with disabilities it was all about socialization. Their very existence itself was dependent on socialization, and now the very norm of social distancing is becoming the new normal. So to what extent a person with disability, just envisage a person who is having a multiple disability, who is a locomotor disabled with visual impairment, without socialization there is no life for him even. So that is the scenario. So and as we all know, disability is a spectrum condition wherein there are a minority who belong to the one end of the spectrum with minor disability, whereas in the other end of the spectrum lies a group of people for them socialization is everything, or without, unless and until they are getting a specific support from the society, from their near and dear one, they will not be able even to pull along with any of their activities of daily living or any of their life requirements even. um, How and in what ways has the social distancing depleted their ability to access information and resources? What does access mean to people with disabilities? How does this disadvantage pan out for PWDs with different levels and multiplicity of impairment? So, these domain, as I said, when we hear or when we think of research, naturally we tend to some sort of a higher form of research of a doctoral work or a master's degree. As I said, it's not just regarding that sort of work. Any sort of data gathering in that regard, or some sort of minor studies or some sort of documentations, whatsoever is relevant in this given scenario. So this is a basic question which is to be addressed. What does social distancing mean to them? How and in what ways has the social distancing depleted their ability? Because we know it has hindered to a great extent the activities of daily living, even at least for a minority of person with disabilities. So how does this disadvantage pan out for PWDs with different levels and multiplicity of impairments? So these are all areas which we can do research, right from a doctoral level to gathering of informations and documentations. But what should be our priority, or what should be the goals set by us? That's also important. So at one end we can again proceed with longitudinal studies of scholarly interest or academic interest, but on the other end we will also have to focus on the practical implementation or the effect of such studies as well. So you collect a small data, you can do a small survey, or you can gather information, document the informations obtained, and you can bring it to the attention of the concerned authorities, the policy makers, the decision makers, the administrative, the bureaucrats around you, so that this is being put into practice, or this is being implemented for the benefit of persons with disability. So that should be the key point, whatever research or study we are doing at this given moment of time. Coming back, for example, for people with hearing and visual impairment, the predominant source of access is touch. For a person with visual impairment, he'll be using the braille. He'll be his ambulation would be with the help of a caregiver whose angle he'll be holding, whose elbow he'll be holding forever whenever he's going out, or he'll be touching surfaces very frequently than a normal person. So without touch, it's nothing for a person with disability, for a person with blindness. So for blinds, there is no or very little public assistance now. Even if a person with visual impairment is going out of his house, other public will be reluctant to help him now, because you're not supposed to come into proximity. You are not supposed to touch a person because of the fear of spread of the illness. So just think of the scenario. So how does all this translate into their ability to access information and resources? Take a simple example: a person with hearing impairment who is in the habit of lip reading, or he understands things, his mode of communication is by lip reading, and now we are all using mask. So it's a huge shutter which is being put in front of him, that his access is denied entirely. So it is as simple as that. So for a person with disability, this is a huge concern for him. So this forms a vicious cycle even. So unless and until we people become aware of it and we make the other people around us aware of these things, nothing is going to happen. So it is our responsibility to see to it that such things are being done and brought to the notice of the concerned authorities. While answering these questions, it is critical to access and describe how these disadvantages manifest differently for women and men, people of different age groups, say children and adolescents, PWDs living with very little social support, etc. So, as I said, again, just a person with this PWD in itself is an umbrella term, or it's a wide spectrum, wherein you have a mild disability to a devastating disability. You have double burden, like groups of people. Say for example geriatric population having disability, so they are double burdened, so more marginalized among the marginalized, women with disability, children with disability. So how is this scenario affecting to this specific groups of people that need to be studied? Both quantitative and qualitative research to document the experiences of exclusion, stigma, and discrimination will be critical to translate them into effective and holistic responses. So that is important. We need to translate all these things into effective and holistic response, so that at the end of the day, a person with disability is being benefited with these studies and researches. For that, we need both quantitative as well as qualitative research to document the experience even of exclusion or discrimination or even stigmatization. It's all there, but unless and until we conduct specific studies, we have scientific data evidences with us, these are all just speculations which we are making. So it is our responsibility to come up with studies at this nick of time. The isolation and dismantling of the existing support system also imply elevated levels of other kinds of vulnerabilities and risks. For example, there are reports of sexual abuse against children. There is an urgent need to map these vulnerabilities through evidence and provide safety measures. This topic we had discussed much in detail when we were discussing children and adolescents with corona. We had discussed the statistics even. So there are evidences that the violence against children and adolescents are increasing. Similarly, violence against women are increasing at this period of lockdown. So how that is affecting person with disability with who is a child or women. So these are all important. More significantly, support need is much higher in case of trauma. What is the effect on their already fragile mental health? Due to the situation of the disability itself, their mental health is at a compromised state. Now, what is the effect of their already fragile mind in this given situation of chaos? How do PWDs seek help if traumatized? So again, research is required in all these directions. Unless we bestow our specific attention to these domain, no one is going to come up with data or studies in this respect. And if you just browse through relevant internet websites and all, the absence you find only very minimal number of studies with regard to persons with disabilities and the impact of COVID-19 in persons with disabilities. Its absence is very conspicuous. Descriptive assessment of access challenges and disadvantages should be accompanied by research that enhances understanding of how they are coping with the lack of access to information and resources. So it's not just a descriptive assessment which is required, but should be accompanied by research that enhances the understanding of that. Are there indigenous and community-based responses that can be documented? It will be very helpful to list and document best practices and the work of community-based PWD-friendly organizations and help them to scale up in the current situation. So this sort of, especially in countries like India, where we are not good at documentation or converting into the existing data in the form of research and studies and analysis and all, because we know we are a population, for example, especially people in this field, medical field or rehabilitation field, we can think that even data walks to us with all the relevant informations, but we are not that good as a westerner in making or converting it into research studies. So but this is required only if there are substantial scientific studies in this regard. We will be able to project it to the policymakers so that it, at the end of the day, it benefits the person with disability. So it will be very helpful to list and document best practices. So even not just a doctor level study, but even a documentation of best practices, that will be very beneficial. But we will have to bring it up to the notice of the concerned authorities for the effective implementation. We urgently need operations research to assess the various constraints of the healthcare providers to provide timely and effective services. So this is coming to the priority research area to prepare effective health system response to address the need of PWDs. Till now, we were discussing regarding enhancement of PWDs access to information and services. Now we are discussing regarding the regarding preparation of effective health system response to address the needs of persons with disabilities. So, we urgently need operation research to assess the various constraints of healthcare providers to provide timely and effective services to PWDs. What are their operational constraints? For example, are there guidelines in health institutions addressing the specific needs of persons with disabilities? How are these guidelines used? Whether they are displayed and accessed by the healthcare providers? Are they adequate in number? Are they adequate in numbers and have sufficient time and resources to spend with PWDs? What is their capacity and attitudinal constraints to address the PWDs? So these are, see, very basic, simple questions. But just think from your side. Are there any studies in this regard? These are very simple. Even some questionnaire study we can do, maybe in association with Indian Medical Association or Indian Nurses Council, or for that matter, any authorized body of healthcare providers. These are simple questionnaire surveys which we can do. But once we get a scientific data, we can very well say, see, this is the percentage of the absence of this much, or there is not even a single guideline which is being issued. There is not, they are not at all aware of the requirement of PWD. So if we can come up with a consolidated data, a scientific result of the study, then that becomes a solid ground in which we will be further able to advocate for them and to bring to the notice of the policymakers, so that necessary changes are being made, like guidelines to be issued to healthcare workers. They have to be given classes or online sessions regarding the rights and privileges of persons with disabilities. They can ensure that, suppose, say, for example, we are in a study, it is finding out that even in temporary primary first care facility for corona, the first line treatment centers, if there are 99% of the centers are not having free access, means that is a cardinal finding. So if that finding is there, we can very well caution the authorities, see, this is the situation. Then even a simple ramp may be a solution for many of the cases. So such things we can bring to the notice only if we conduct systematic study in this regard. Besides, what are the other supply needs of health system to become effective with the PWDs? For example, disabled friendly equipment, chairs, beds, waiting spaces, and sanitization facilities, and so on. So these are all, there can be n number of such situations where we can make a study and bring to the note, and the findings will be definitely be very relevant, and we can bring it to the notice of the authorities for implementation of effective action plans against these lacunae. The other proper priority area for or is to identify the ways to establish effective outreach for the health system to connect with PWDs in need, especially in the current times where PWDs may not be able to access the health system. See, these are all aspects, unless and until we bestow our attention, these are all aspects which are just brushed under the carpet, because they don't, the persons with disabilities, or for that matter, any marginalized group sector, doesn't belong, in double inverted, to the so-called normal majority. So they are always tend to be ignored, as Amartya Sen rightly pointed out, especially in developing and underdeveloped countries. They are very underprivileged and they are even discarded. So that's why I'm keeping on reiterating that it is the responsibility of people who are working in the field of disability to see to it that things are happening. So this is the time where we need to have the role of advocacy role to the fullest. Or perhaps there is no systematic way to connect with PWDs by health system. If not, then what is the best way to proactively establish those connections? For example, how effectively can we bring civil society organizations and other caregivers working with PWDs and connect them with the health system? So this sort of networking, for that we don't have an existing model. So there may be a lot of experiments which is happening in the society that we need to understand, we need to document it, we need to study it, we need to understand what are the strengths of it, what are the weaknesses of such models. We need to bring it to the attention of the policy makers. Then the change is going to happen. So such it's a chain of action wherein the study, research, documentation, etc. become the basis of all further steps, or should be undertaken on a pilot basis to establish the model and entry points for the outreach and engagement with the civil society. And palliative and home based care is a part of the continuum of care that the health system must oversee and ensure to maintain the seamless flow of prevention, care, rehabilitation, and treatment. See, again, it's a vicious cycle. It's not a compartmentalized thing. Like it's a continuum. So, palliative and home based care is a part of that continuum. And to maintain the seamless flow from prevention to the care to the rehabilitation and treatment, so attention has to be bestowed upon. The disruption caused due to COVID 19 must be understood to restore this continuum of care. Questions must address how best to support and enable the other caregivers at home and community based institutions, because these are the questions only relevant to persons with disabilities. So, if we people in the field of disability are not taking this question up, who else is gonna take up these questions? So, this is a very crucial thing which we all should ponder within ourselves. What are their fears and apprehensions, and how best to address them? There is an urgent need to assess the needs of the caregivers at home. The research as of now which are available is very scarce, maybe a very few in number, the caregiver related issues of persons with disabilities in the current given scenario of this COVID pandemic. What are the physical and emotional needs, and how they can be enabled to support the health system's research reach and effectiveness? So these are all areas, these are all questions which need clear cut answers. For that, a lot of research is to happen. As I said, even a simple data collection will have its own relevance and significance in this given period of time. Then coming to the priority research areas to build empathy for persons with disabilities. This empathy is also a very cardinal requirement. It's not sympathy. You all know the difference between sympathy and empathy, and what is expected is empathy and not sympathy. So to build empathy, what are the areas to be explored? What are the research possibilities in that? The independent movement of PWDs is completely impaired. That we have talked that they have been pushed back into a state of dependence with shattered self-confidence and no one to fall back on. So these are again, you need to empathize with them. Only if you are in another person's shoe, we will know of the exact feeling of the other person. So that's what empathy means in a simple sense. So unless and until we empathize with them, we will not understand the meaning or the depth or the relevance of these questions. Their independent movement is completely impaired because for them it was all about socialization, it was all about interdependence, it was all about social support. Now it's all lost. As a new normal, it is social distancing. So what they will be doing now in such a situation? How does one build empathy and network for them? There is a need to build evidence on how to create empathy for the persons with disabilities. What kinds of campaigns on social media will be more effective and acceptable and help them mainstream to the larger society in which they live? So, again, studies are required, research is required in this direction, because otherwise these are all assumptions based on which we are acting. Of course, that is also required because this is such a chaotic situation now, but there should be lot of researchers in this direction as well. There is a need to build evidence on how to create empathy to PWDs. If it is a specifically scientifically researched finding, then that can very well be implemented in a more authentic manner. For example, ICMR is giving example of Belapanthi. Belapanthi is in the state of Odisha, in the district of Ganjam. The ICMR is mentioning of that Belapanthi is one small experiment that used social and other digital media to bring the persons with disabilities together, mediated by a civil society organization. They connect and relate and often have fun with each other to relieve and feel connected. So this is a good model which can be emulated by rest of the country. So for that, we need to know what happened there, what were the components of that, what were its strengths and weaknesses, how can that be replicated. So such sort of models also need to be brought to the awareness of other researchers or other persons in the field of disability, and also to the policymakers. So all these encompasses research with regard to persons with disabilities in this corona period. Then priority research areas to enhance learning and skill enhancement needs of persons with disabilities during post-lockdown and longer time frame. So this is the third domain which ICMR is detailing about. How can a new normal be crafted for people with disabilities rather than waiting for the new normal to emerge? This is a very crucial question, because even for the so-called normal majority population, this new normal is to be crafted. So there is no point in for us waiting for the new normal to emerge. So for persons with disabilities, they need further thrust or pull or push, thrust or push for the PWDs to craft their new normal. For that, they need assistance and involvement of the other persons as well. So for that, to develop such models, again, we need to have a detailed study on the requirements. One of the best example of the or in this area is what kinds of new learning material will enhance the learning and skills of persons with disabilities. With the new normal of classroom teaching getting replaced by digital and long distance teaching, and with very little physical presence of the teachers or the trainers, how can we assist the PWDs in learning? This is a huge question. Even in Kerala, I can very well explain our experience in this domain, because the state of Kerala had given much importance to restart the school year right from June 1st itself, without any delay, using e mode, like everything was online. So there were a lot of issues, no, even for the normal, so-called normal majority children who were to attend the classes. Many of them were not having gadgets like a tablet or a laptop or even a mobile phone to access the classes. Many had the sort of non-availability of data connections. So this digital divide was happening. A group of people, underprivileged children, who are not able to access, and the majority who are able to access. Then a lot of social reforms even happened. A lot of government agencies, NGOs, and other voluntary organizations, individuals started contributing these sort of equipments, gadgets for the children who are not having. And majority of the children, the state was able to bring them into the fold of e-learning, distance learning using internet. But again, the question of inclusion arised there, because now the normal, so-called normal children started learning. Then what about a child with autism spectrum disorder? How he can be addressed? A child with visual impairment? How a child with hearing impairment? How can that such a child be accommodated in this inclusive learning setup? So then we had detailed, including CRC, we had detailed discussions with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and new modules were created exclusively for various specific groups of disabilities. For children with hearing impairment, specific modules, teaching modules were created. So these are all domains and areas where research is required. This is just one example which I am telling. Similarly, if you take each and every domain, healthcare, that telemedicine, that in itself is a huge area which we need to explore, which we need to study and research, so that based on the findings, we can translate it into practical models for implementation. Or should help us answer what are the differential learning and assistance needs of people with different levels of impairments. For example, for learning through video means hearing impaired people have begun to learn lip movements, because as I said, lip reading is one of the means of communication adhered to by certain persons with hearing impairment. So if that is successful, means that they have started learning the lip reading by viewing the television monitor. Then how does one brings in these new skills in COVID-19 situations where new learning and gaining information is becoming rapidly imminent? What are the most appropriate and humane ways to ensure the care, safety, dignity, and maintenance of their day-to-day survival? What are the capacity needs? These are all, each and every point being raised here are questions which needs answers, a lot of multi-layered answers in fact. So these are all areas of research which we all can embark upon, right from the doctoral level to a small data collection level, but these are all contributory by and large. How can assistive technologies be effectively used, and how can the technologies be adapted and scaled for use in the current and post COVID-19 situations? These are all questions to be addressed. Similarly, the need to use payment gateways has made it difficult for people with disabilities to seamlessly maintain day-to-day survival, as very few of them are adept at using such gateways, or for that matter any newer gadgets. So again, just think of an older person having a disability. So again, he is in a double disadvantageous stage. He may not be competent enough in using the newer gadgets. So utilization of this new electronic medium for such sort of payment gateways or other requirements, he may not be finding it very comfortable in using it. He may not be knowing how to use it. So that all such things pushes such person into a disadvantageous position. It is being realized that COVID 19 is necessitating research into many areas related to and involving PWDs and the healthcare and rehabilitation services. Some of these include, but are not limited to, as we discussed earlier, ensuring access to information related to COVID 19 in various forms that we discussed in detail. So, even in this topic, there are n number of other subheadings in which we can conduct our researches. Which are the safe and effective products for hand sanitization and sanitization of equipment, assistive technology products used by PWDs? How can that be effectively implemented? What are the stumbling blocks in implementation of such things? Again, this can be studied. Devising practical ways of social distancing without compromising the quality of care. So that is a huge challenging area, because these are seemingly contradictory. Because for any person with disability, he need to interact with his immediate surrounding, immediate people around him, for his things to be done seamlessly. But this social interaction in itself is the contradictory factor as far as COVID spread is concerned now. So how to circumvent that? So again, this is a huge area which can be studied. Study of signs and symptoms as well as the outcome of COVID-19 among persons with disability, with different types of disabilities. It's a very interesting area of study. What are the differences in the signs and symptoms, or what are the changes in the manifestation of the various corona signs and symptoms in specific disability? What is the difference between a person with visual impairment? So a lot of possibilities there for study in this direction. Then devising practical ways to ensure continuity of treatment and rehabilitation and programs. So a lot of social sector studies is required in this area. Practically, what are the ways to ensure continuity of treatment? As I said, many of the majority of the persons with disabilities are not receiving their regular therapies now. They are having difficulty in accessing to their healthcare needs. They are having difficulty even to the extent that their activities of daily living are getting hampered. So how to devise practical ways to ensure such things are being implemented seamlessly? Ensuring availability, affordability, and utilization of telemedicine services for the benefit of persons with disabilities. As I said, even for the general public, those who are not equipped or not who are such a techno-savvy persons, they find it difficult to access the newer gadgets to the extent required to facilitate them in utilizing these facilities to their advantage. Then designing and developing appropriate face masks and PPEs. For example, simply a person or persons who are dealing with PWDs in the hearing impairment sector, it would be better for them if they are wearing a transparent mask, so that a person with hearing impairment who is used to lip reading will be able to understand what he is telling if a person is using a transparent mask. Similarly, touch, as I said, for visually impaired person, their main mode of sensory input is touch only. So now we should be very careful in touching whichever surface it is. So how that can be facilitated? How his inconveniences can be eased out? So that is an important question which is to be addressed. Again, studies and researches need to be conducted. Developing guidelines regarding rehabilitative surgeries during COVID-19 pandemic. That's also important. We cannot defer, even if it is an elective surgery, we cannot defer it indefinitely. It may be required. So in the given COVID pandemic scenario, how can that be done? What could be the guidelines which we can follow in such regard? A huge area of research again. A checklist of performer related to infection prevention and control (IPC) measures among persons with disabilities and in rehabilitation setups, etc., can be developed. So, apart from the so-called normal majority people, persons with disabilities, what are the specific requirements with relation to infection prevention and control in this period? So, again, that's a major area which can be studied. Creative solutions that can be adopted for small communities as well as scaled up to the national level. So there are n number of possibilities in the research scenario in this given period, in the COVID pandemic period, with regard to persons with disabilities. And it can be from a doctoral level to a simple uh, screening or simple assessment and documentation of some best practices. But at the end of the day, we, the people in the field of disability rehabilitation, should be able to take it up to the authorities, to the decision making persons, to the bureaucrats, to the local authorities, or to the state or even to the central authorities, and enlighten them that, see, this is the situation, this is the findings, these are the options. So please try to mainstream our persons with disabilities as well in this struggle against the COVID pandemic. So this brings to the end of our 10-day long eventful session. So just to recap, we in topic 1 we had discussed regarding the COVID-19 current scenario and the various issues faced by persons with disabilities. In topic 2, we had discussed guiding principles and special measures for healthcare workers specifically and healthcare delivery institution. This is very important because for healthcare delivery institutions, they need to have the accessibility at least, and healthcare providers should be knowing at least the basics of the rights of persons with disabilities, and should have an empathetic attitude towards a person with disability, so that they will be able to address their concerns in a more realistic manner. And topic 3 was need, role, and precautions of the caregivers. So that was also dealt in much detail. ICMR had brought out a huge chapter in that regard, and everything we had discussed in that, the role and especially the precautionary measures. Then topic 4 was COVID-19 and PWDs, prevention of spread, standards of personal hygiene and sanitization. By and large, these are general precautionary measures which is being advocated by WHO and other health machineries. But some details regarding what are the specifics with regard to PWDs we had discussed in that topic. Then coming to the 5th topic, it was preserving and maintaining mental health for healthcare workers, persons with disabilities, and their caregivers. So all these subheadings were also discussed in detail, and the measures which we can ensure for the betterment was also discussed. And topic 6 was specifically on the use of assistive technology, their associated risks and precautions. So the measures to be taken for the periodic sanitization of various equipment, specific things or specific disinfectants which can be used, the method by which we should do such things were discussed in detail in that. And topic 7, ICMR had mentioned regarding the challenges and care of children and adolescents with disabilities. In that, we had discussed various data on these things. What are the specific domains which we need to address with regard to children and adolescents? And as the 8th topic, we discussed the care and concern of elderly persons with disabilities, because these people are belonging to the double burden group. Already they are having a burden of disability, and they are in the geriatric age groups, which means that their burden is simply getting doubled. So such sort of marginalized among the marginalized sector also we discussed. And topic 9 was regarding yesterday, day before yesterday, was regarding the rehabilitation in healthcare and community settings. So various rehabilitation options we had discussed. And in the 10th, today's topic, we just now have discussed regarding the disability research.